Indian River Lagoon South, C44 Reservoir, and Stormwater Treatment Area update, but I also want to just introduce that project as a component of the Indian River Lagoon South Comprehensive Project. So bear with me and we'll get through some of the details of that before we get into the C44 update. Hope I can figure out how to change my screen.
If you click on the Zoom slide itself.
There we go. Okay. So Indian River Lagoon South is a component of the Everglades Restoration Plan. And it has a number of structural components and then a number of natural lands components. And the structural components include the C44 Reservoir and STA located here in central Martin County, the C23 and 24 Reservoir and STA, and that is two reservoirs, a North Reservoir and a South Reservoir, and then an STA. The northern diversion, which takes water released from the North Reservoir into the STA and then diverts that water downstream into the North Fork. The southern diversion, which, where's that? Sorry about that. Southern diversion is the interconnect canal, which takes water from the C23 canal and brings it into the C44 project and then into the C44 canal after going through the reservoir and stormwater treatment area and being cleaned. And then this last component is the C25 reservoir and stormwater treatment area up here in the C25 basin. The other components are the natural lands components, which have been identified, and some of the properties have been acquired and other properties are going to be acquired. That includes the Cypress Creek complex in the C24 basin, and that's about 30-some thousand acres that are proposed for acquisition. The Alapata complex, natural water storage and treatment area in central Martin County, north central Martin County. That is about 40,000 acres proposed for acquisition. And then the Palmar complex in the C44 basin in south central, south central Martin County, which is about 17,000 acres. So the benefits of the Indian River Lagoon South project are intended to restore the southern Indian River Lagoon, which is an estuary of national significance, as most of you are aware. It is a recognized national US EPA National Estuary Program recognized estuary, an outstanding Florida water that has important native seagrass and oyster beds, and supports a diverse assemblage of invertebrates, fishes, and wildlife. And then also the natural areas complex is to restore this mosaic of wetland and upland habitats. And it is one of the few CERP projects that will increase the spatial extent of these wetland habitats. And it's about 90,000 acres. Will also improve habitat for federally endangered species. Federally listed species such as the wood stork, the Florida panther, and manatees, and then the National Marine Fisheries Service, the small-tooth sawfish, and several sea turtles. Additionally, the project will provide water supply or supplement water supply for agricultural and reduce demand on the Floridan aquifer. And it also has a key benefit in that it will improve recreational and commercial fishing, boating, and bird watching opportunities. Planned work, ongoing design. Right now, the Corps of Engineers is working with the district on the stormwater treatment area design for the C23-24 STA, and that is expected to be awarded in this coming September. The district is working on the C-23 to 44 diversion, and that would be a 2023 award for construction. And then the Corps of Engineers is also working with the district to design the North Reservoir for a 2023 award and the South Reservoir for a 2024 award. So a lot of projects going forward in the early 2020s here. And then planned future design, the district is in the process of identifying the land and doing due diligence on acquisition for the land for the C-25 reservoir right now. And that is anticipated to be designed and constructed by the district with the FY26 award. This is the footprint of the C-23-24 complex. These features are intended to take water before it goes to tide from the C-24 canal and the C-23 canal, store that water, and then divert a portion of it downstream to the North Fork, where the natural systems model has shown that that location is a more suitable location for much of this water to be discharged to the estuary, and it will support a oligohaling zone in the North Fork and keep as much water as possible out of the middle estuary where it's the most damaging. Again, C-23 South Reservoir will take water from the C-23 canal and the C-24 canal via here. So there'll be a pump station in this general location, and canal will be routed around here so that it can pick water up from both canals. And then the C-24 reservoir, which is a little smaller, will take water from the C-24 basin. And both of these can then discharge back into the canals. This will have a direct connection to the STA, and this will have a connection to the STA via the canal system and the North Reservoir. Again, the North Reservoir will hold about 30,000 acre feet with the design currently underway and construction from 2022 to 2028, so about a 6-year construction period. And that does include an operational period, a testing and monitoring operational period. The South Reservoir, will also hold about 60,000 acre feet with this design start this coming fall. And construction planned from 2024 to 2028. Again, in this case, a 4-year construction. And then there is a future opportunity for shared access from State Road 70 to some St. Lucie County public lands along the west side of the reservoir. The C-23 to C-44 interconnect is a canal and pump station along the east side of Allapattah. It will take water that cannot be captured by the South C-23 reservoir south into the C-44 complex, and then that water will be released ultimately to the C-24 canal, or C-44 canal, I'm sorry. And the rationale for that is, again, to try to keep as much water as we can out of the middle estuary where it is the most damaging and divert it to a location where it's a little less damaging to the estuary. This includes, it's a 250 CFS pump station, includes a spillway back to the reservoir perimeter canal and then to the C-44 reservoir, then discharged to the STA and then the C-44 canal. And again, the maximum pumped from the C-23 canal will be 250 CFS, taking water that would otherwise be discharged to tide. Excuse me. It does reduce the impact of the excess flows to the mid-estuary, and it will not compromise existing water supply. And again, we are expecting this to go to construction at the beginning of 2023. C-44, the C-44 reservoir This slide shows you the general location of the reservoir, which is pretty much dead center in Martin County. It's on the north side of the C44 canal, and the C44 canal, as many of you are aware, discharges or can discharge water from Lake Okeechobee to the estuary and at the South Fork of the St. Lucie estuary. The C44 Basin is 202 square miles. The reservoir covers 6 square miles. It's 3 miles long by 2 miles wide. And the STAs cover 11.5 square miles. And again, they're about, this is about 3,400 acres and is capable of storing about 50,000, almost 51,000 acre feet of water at a depth. Sorry, I need to keep my hand off the mouse. At a depth of 15 feet maximum. The STAs are 6,300 acres divided up into 6 cells, and they store about 9,450 acre feet of water. Right now, the completed work on this the C44 project includes the intake canal, which is a 4-mile intake canal from C44 to the southeast corner of the reservoir. The system discharge, which is the ultimate discharge of water from the STAs, all of the STAs back to the C44 canal. The pump station, which is capable of pumping 1,100 CFS or 1,100 cubic feet per second of water into the reservoir. And then the STA is also completed. Ongoing work is the C44 Reservoir, which is expected to be completed mid this year. The C44 intake canal bank stabilization, putting some riprap along the banks of the C44 canal to prevent future erosion. Both of those ongoing work efforts are being led by the Corps of Engineers. And then this is the pump station and the intake canal coming in here. And interior here is this interior of the reservoir. And this is a fairly old picture, again, showing the completed reservoir, but we're not seeing right now here any of the embankment or very little of the embankment. So I'd say this is about 2 years old. Again, here's the intake canal, C44 canal, and again, that's about 4 miles long. Goes to the pump station at this location right here, pumps into the reservoir at 1,100 CFS. Again, 50,800 acre feet of storage. And that number might vary a little bit here and there. Some places you'll see 50,900, sometimes you'll see 50,600. Just depends on who's doing the math. But generally we'd say about 50,600 acre feet. This is the STA, the stormwater treatment area, and it extends all the way from Allapattah on the north down to the C44 canal. Its purpose, and the cells in the STAs will have an average depth of about 1.5 feet. And that is to encourage growth of the wetland vegetation that removes the phosphorus from the system. And that this is an emergent vegetation STA. Mostly cattails and bulrush and other types of emergent plants will be the basic vegetation within the STA. And this is divided up into 6 cells. And I think the next picture of various sizes. And what happens is the water is discharged from the reservoir into the distribution canal, which goes to here. And right here is a little overflow in case there's too much water for the cells to take at any given time. Cells 1 and 3 flow from south to north. Cell 2 flows from north to south. and cells 4, 5, and 6 flow from west to east. The water is then picked up in this collection canal as it's discharged from the STAs, this connection canal, and then this collection canal from cell 2, and they discharge together over the 404 spillway back into the C44 canal. To meet the project goals, again, approximately 66% or more of the C44 Basin runoff is what is proposed to be captured and treated prior to its release back to the C44 canal. Expecting to reduce the average annual phosphorus load by about 34,500 metric tons per year. I'm sorry, kilograms per year, about 34.5 metric tons to the St. Lucie estuary. And that number includes the water that is discharged into the reservoir from the C-23 basin via the interconnect canal. Then reduce the average nitrogen load by about 93.5 kilograms per year. We expect to initiate fill of the reservoir in the fall of 2021 once the Corps completes the construction and gets all of the pump station controls work completed. And then there is an extended testing and monitoring period before there will be normal operation of the facility. And that's so we can check all of the groundwater monitoring wells and the settlement and all of the technical things that go into the operation of a deep water reservoir. Now, mostly from this point on, it's going to be photos of the construction and the reservoir and STA construction. This is the picture looking kind of northeast. That's the pump station in the foreground there. And then in the very foreground is the reservoir interior embankment and soil cement. That pump station has piping underground here into the reservoir. And then off in the distance here is the communication tower that was constructed as part of the project and completed in 2014. And the stormwater treatment area here, this is cell 2, the northern part of cell 2, and then further up here, you're going to cell 1 and cell 3. This is the completed STA and cell looking from, let's see what direction, let me think about this again, west to east. And cell 1, again, this is the distribution canal. And these are the intake structures. This is an intake structure and an intake structure, and then there's one that's outside the frame. And then on the south side, this is an intake structure and an intake structure, taking water from this distribution canal and feeding it into cell 2, again, from north to south, and cell 1 from south to north, and then cell 3 here. And then in the distance, this is the Barbie Ranch natural area proposed component of Alapata complex, and then cell 4 here. And if you go to the right of the screen, you would then get to cell 5 and cell 6. And again, this is, we have been hydrating these cells since 2019, at least cells 1, 2, and 3 since 2019. And because we don't have water to feed these cells from the reservoir, because the reservoir is not yet complete and able to have water put into it, we constructed a hydration pumping station that takes water directly out of the intake canal and puts it into cell 2. And you can't really tell from this photo, but we're hydrating cell 2 at a slightly elevated depth so that we can feed water from cell 2 into the remainder of the cells and get the growing that we need and have it be ready to discharge once we're ready to operate. Again, some more photos of the STA, the southwest corner of cell 5 up at the top of the screen. And then the southeast corner of cell 2 at the bottom, at the left of the screen, and cell 6 over here. This is, again, the distribution canal here that is feeding water into the cells from west to east. And then right here is a discharge structure from cell 2 that this is the cell 2 collection canal. Again, this goes along and goes ultimately to the system discharge structure. This is the reservoir and the southwest corner of the reservoir. So on the southwest, we have Troop Indiantown Water Control District and agriculture, the Florida Power and Light transmission line that runs all the way up into St. Lucie County. Oops, sorry. And then the southwest corner of the reservoir. Again, this is the embankment, the interior embankment, the exterior embankment, and then this is a perimeter canal. And these items here along the side are vibrating wire embankment settlement sensors so that we can track how and if the embankment is settling. And the pump station and intake canal. This is the southeast corner of the reservoir. So off on the left side is the construction complex. This is the core construction complex for the reservoir. You can see a lot of the equipment on site here. This is the district complex for the STA. And not a lot going on there right now when this picture was taken because most people were working from home. And so there's a few cars off over here where a few people have been in here. And then off in this direction over here, off the screen is the contractors complex. Again, interior to the reservoir, embankment, interior embankment and soil cement. This is the pump station, and that's the intake canal coming from the south. And again, it goes 4 miles to the south, so the C-44 is off in the distance. Excuse me. This canal, this has been removed. This was our temporary access during construction, and so it is in the process of being removed. It may not be completely removed as yet. And again, this delivers water to the intake side of the pump station, and then it discharges through here, the pipes under the embankment, and the structure here where that then will get released into the reservoir itself. This is the eastern side of the reservoir and boat ramp for access, and a ramp up and back down. The collection canal here, and again, the intake canal off in the distance here. This is the northeast corner of the reservoir at the discharge structure S402. And this structure, so again, this is the northeast corner. This is Alapata up at the north side of the reservoir. This structure will take water from the reservoir and discharge it into the distribution canal, where it then goes and is distributed to each of the STA cells. This is the reservoir northeast corner, just to the north of that structure that we just looked at. Again, this is Alapata, natural storage area, another embankment, vibrating wire embankment settlement sensor all along the embankment, soil cement, the perimeter canal and seepage canal. And this perimeter canal goes all the way around the reservoir and discharges back into the intake canal where that water is then pumped back into the reservoir. So any seepage is collected on the outside of the reservoir and pumped back into the reservoir. I think that's it. Just a couple of comments though before we go on. So since we've been hydrating the STA, we've had a lot of wildlife attracted. There are a lot of deer on the site. There are a lot of hogs on the site, unfortunately. But we have had waterfowl of all different kinds of species. These are spoonbills in the middle here. A lot of ducks, stilts, etc., a lot of alligators, and we've had a fairly significant nesting population of snail kite, of Everglades snail kite. In fact, there were, at the peak, there were 33 active snail kite nests in cell 2. And we have had all but 13 fledged. There's some still have fledglings in the nest. I think 13 still have fledglings in the nest as of last week. And so that means 20 nests have successfully fledged their offspring. And Lisa, I think I'm done.
Great, thank you so much, Beth. I know this really puts in perspective for me as to how massive a project this is just in terms of scale and time and infrastructure and resources and everything. So thank you. We do have a couple questions that have come in through the chat. The first one, I believe actually came in right before you mentioned it, but the question is whether the STAs are designed to reduce nutrients and what are the expectations for the amount of reductions of NNP?
Yes, and they are designed to reduce nutrients. And again, that is through emergent vegetation, taking up the phosphorus and nitrogen. And the amounts are, again, 34 to 36 metric tons on an average annual basis. And of course, that depends upon how much water is treated. So if we have a very wet year, we may be treating more water than in a dry year. And it also assumes that water from the C-43 Basin via the interconnect canal will also be treated. And then nitrogen, I believe the figure was about 93 metric tons on an average annual basis.
Great, thank you. While I read the next question, I'm also going to be putting up the poll for our participants. So if you can complete that for us, we'd appreciate it. The next question is, what plants are used in the cells to remove the NNP? And would they also be recommended to be planted in retention ponds and around the littoral zone?
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed the first part of that question. Could you please repeat?
What plants are going to be used in the cells for nutrient removal?
Okay, so the expectation is that mostly the plants will come in on a voluntary basis, and we expect that, and the majority of those will be cattails. However, we do have an aquatic nursery on site, and that includes bulrush species of juncus, some Eliocharis, and I'm not sure exactly what else is. I guess probably some pickerel weed and also Sagittaria would be in the nursery. And so there will be some selective plantings throughout. But for 6,300 acres, most of what we're expecting is natural recruitment.
Great, thank you. Next question, someone is asking, what is soil cement?
It's a hardened soil mixed with cement, and it is a flat plate, a roller compacted. So it's mostly concrete, but it is just a special blend of soil and cement made to withstand specific criteria with respect to pressure and I am not an engineer, so that's about the best explanation you can get.
Okay, the next question is, will the STAs be available as recreational resources?
Absolutely. So we're not expecting that they'll be opened up for that purpose for at least a year and maybe a little longer. We actually have a planning meeting, had developed a recreational plan back in 2008, 2009, when the reservoir was initially designed. And we're going to pick that back up now that construction is complete. And we'll be providing some parking areas, some kiosks for and restrooms for the public. And then there will be some specific areas for the public to be able to access for mostly passive recreation. We do expect a lot of hiking and bird watching and possibly duck hunting. We still have to develop that full-fledged recreational plan.
Thank you. The next question is, can you explain the vibrating settling mechanism a bit more?
No.
Fair enough.
I am sorry. If you want to contact me directly, I can get an explanation for you, but it's a complicated geotechnology scientific method, and I do not understand it. I'm sorry to say. But yes, please feel free to reach out and I will get the answer for you.
Okay, great. The question about nitrogen and phosphorus reduction, they were asking if that's available in % reduction rather than metric tons reduction.
I don't have that information in the PIR. There is an expected about a 50% reduction at mid-estuary to try to get to the TMDL. But as far as the percentage of what's actually removed from the water, I would have to dig into and get some additional information on that before I'd feel comfortable with actually giving you a percentage.
Okay, thank you. And then the last question we have is, would there be a chance that cyanobacteria would come into the intake canal, and how would that be dealt with?
Again, that's beyond my expertise, and it's I don't have an answer to that right now. I would imagine that there is a large effort going on with respect to cyanobacteria, and I would have to refer you to one of the experts on that as far as how it would be dealt with.
Okay, great, thank you. We had another question come in. Where does the funding for this project come from?
The funding comes from both the state of Florida and the federal government. Funding for all of the SERP projects are included in the federal budget, and then the Water Management District gets funding from the state via the Everglades Trust Fund and other funding sources to support Everglades restoration construction.
Great. That is the questions we have for now. Maybe wait another minute or two just to see if we get some last minute questions in. But I want to thank you so much for giving a presentation to the Water Ambassador Group and for keeping us updated on important water quality projects in the region. So thank you so much.
You're certainly welcome. This is a great group, for sure.
We think so. Give it one more minute and then I'll let you off the hook.
Well, and I'm sorry it was so short. I expected it to be a much longer presentation, but talk fast.
Yeah, no need to apologize.